So you recently got a Switch, maybe for Christmas, or you've had one for a while and you've been playing in docked mode with this, and you've decided it is time for an upgrade. In this video today, I'm going to give you six options, which I think are the best options when it comes to controllers for the Nintendo Switch. What's up, guys? Welcome back, or welcome in for the first time. If you are new here, do me a favor, make sure you go down in the description, click the link to our Discord. We are in there every day talking about all kinds of stuff. So like I said, click that link and we'll see you in there after this video. All right, so we're gonna get started here, and I'm gonna go ahead and just start with the obvious. When you're talking about the best controllers for the Switch, there's absolutely no way you can leave the Nintendo Switch Pro controller out of the conversation. As far as features go, it's got them all. As far as build quality, it's probably one of the highest, if not the highest. And obviously, being from Nintendo, you know it comes with a nice hefty price tag to it. We'll get into that, and we'll get into all the prices of every single one of these as we go along. So as far as features go, like I said, this one has them all, but it's not the only controller out there that has all of them, but it is definitely the highest quality one you can get with every single feature. And as far as those features go, obviously you're getting gyro, you're getting HD rumble, which you're not going to get on anything else except for the original Joycons that come with your Switch. The Pro controller also has amiibo support, so you're going to be able to scan those in right from the controller, which is very, very difficult to find in third-party controllers. Some do have it, another one on this list does, but it's very hard to find. So as far as charge with this one, you're gonna get 40 hours of battery life with the Pro controller. It does take up to 6 hours to fully charge though, so keep that in mind when you're getting this one, but you are getting 40 hours once it is charged. So, I mean, that's a long time. You know, you charge this thing once every 2 weeks, once a week, depending on how much you're playing. I mean, if you're putting a 40-hour work week in, playing video games, you know, this will do it on one charge. As far as comfort goes, I mean, you're getting Nintendo's best here. Everything feels great. All the buttons feel great, triggers are nice, sticks are great, the D-pad's good. Some people don't like this D-pad. I think this D-pad is fine. I don't think there's any problem with it really at all, but there are better ones out there, and there's another one on this list which we'll get to. But all around, if you're looking for a really, really nice controller and you have $70 to spend on one, it's a no-brainer. It's this. The Pro controller has everything, and it's made by Nintendo. Now at $70, obviously not everybody can do something like this, but I have seen it a little bit cheaper in a few different places, and if I find a link that's cheaper, I'll leave that below. But they have been known to be a little bit cheaper on Amazon in some places. So other than a few things that really aren't even a big problem, this controller's pretty much perfect. Other than the high price, I think the only real con to this controller is the fact that it only comes in transparent black. Yes, we do have this Smash Brothers one here, and there have been a few more, but they are few and far between. And at this point, getting your hands on one of these, you're gonna be paying a lot more than $70. Nintendo has not really stepped out of the box when it comes to their Pro controllers, but they do have a new one coming out. They have a Monster Hunter one, but as of right now, that's not in the United States. It looks like it's only in Europe and Japan, which, you know, doesn't help me, but it may help you, so that's something to think about if you are looking to pick up a Pro controller or a special edition one. There is a new one out. Well, it will be out. I'll leave a link to that too. All right, so the next one on the list is on the complete opposite side of the spectrum when it comes to price, but not features. Actually, this one has a few more features. It's got everything the Pro controller has and more, and it's less than half the price. This one is called the GCHT Gaming Wireless Controller, and it does a lot. Just a real quick rundown, this thing does everything that a Pro controller does. That is including Scan Amiibo. Yes, this does have NFC. And now it does have rumble, but it is not HD rumble. But you can adjust the rumble to be more intense or less intense, you know, whatever you really want. It's got a few different settings, so you're gonna be able to at least change it. If it's too much, you know, they're giving you options at least. Pretty obvious, but we'll go over it here. It's gonna have all the buttons that you need. Everything, just like the Pro controller, but it actually has one extra one, and it's a turbo button. So if you are looking for a controller with a turbo button that's got everything that the Pro controller has, but for way less money, this may be a good bet for you. This thing is built very well. For a $30 controller with this many features, the build quality is outstanding. As you can hear, or can't hear, there's absolutely zero rattle in this controller. It is 100% solid. Nothing. All the buttons feel great. All the sticks are fine. About medium tension on the sticks. They feel a lot like the Pro Controller sticks. They are a little bit smaller. The D-pad, not the best, but it's totally fine. It's definitely not one of those unusable D-pads. It gets the job done with no problem whatsoever. It will even wake the Switch up by hitting the home button. So I know a lot of people do look for controllers that do that. This one does that as well. The only slight downside of this one is it only has a 10-hour battery life. But let's be honest here. 10 hours is a long time. Yeah, you are definitely going to have to plug this one in a lot more than you would a Pro Controller. But for $30 compared to $70, if that's your price range, this is a very, very good option. And if you also play PC, this one will do that too. Okay, so next up is actually two controllers, but I'm gonna kind of lump them into one because they're pretty much the same thing. One's just a little bit smaller than the other, but I do recommend both of these very, very highly. This one is the PowerA Enhanced Wireless Controller, and this one is the PowerA Nano Enhanced Wireless Controller. For the sake of time, we are just going to be focusing on this one. There are some slight differences between the two besides obviously the size, and we'll go over that as we get to them. But like I said, these are both great options. I think the Nano is actually a little bit better built than the full size. I did a full review on this one, and I'll go ahead and link that here or at the end of the video so you guys can check this out. But this is the controller right now I would say I use the most, and it's not even close. Before I got this, it was my Pro Controller. I love my Pro Controller, but this thing, just being the size that it is, and being able to just toss it in the little bag that it comes in and put it in my backpack and bring it here, or take it back home with me, it's just something that I never really knew I wanted to do, but I really enjoy just having this controller with me all the time. As I said, this thing is built really, really well. Minimal shake in the buttons, a slight bit. The larger version does have a little bit of shake. It feels a little bit more hollow than the smaller version. And I go over all this in the full review. If you're very interested in this controller, definitely check that out. This one is going to be missing a few features, but they do add a few things as well. They do add the buttons on the back here that you can program to any of the front buttons. Big one has that too. It does have gyro, but this one and the large one, they do not have rumble. So you are gonna be missing out on that feature. But the good thing about these controllers is they are officially licensed by Nintendo. So you know the quality control is gonna be pretty good on these. That's something you might have to worry about with a $30 controller. You're not gonna have to worry about that very much with one of these. Not only that, but you're also gonna get a ton of design options when it comes to the controller itself. They've got controllers with Mario, Zelda, Pokemon, Animal Crossing. They've even got third-party stuff like The Witcher. They've got Doom controllers. They've got Super Meat Boy controllers. They've got all kinds of cool designs, and they've got some simple ones too that just kind of tone it back a little bit if you want something that's not so loud. And this one's actually not that loud. They have louder ones. One other main difference between the big one and the small one is they do have the same D-pad, but this one is actually not nearly as high up off of the controller as this one is, and I like this one 1,000 times better. I don't think this is a very good D-pad at all, to be honest. This one, even though it is the same shape and I think it feels about the same, just the fact that it's lower makes it 1,000 times better. You are gonna be paying $50 for this one, which is kind of a high price. This one's also $50, but if you look at some of the older versions of the full size, you can find those a pretty good amount cheaper at this point, depending on how old they are. Some of the older ones do take AA batteries instead of having the internal batteries like these new ones do. So definitely watch out for that. If you don't want to deal with the AA's, you may want to go ahead and spend the money on one of the newer ones, but if you don't care, you can definitely get one of the older versions for a lot cheaper. They also do not have NFC, so you're not going to be able to scan Amiibo with these, which not a big deal to me. If you're wondering about battery life with these, they are both going to have 20 hours of battery. This one, no matter what, if you get a Nano, 20 hours. This one, obviously, if you have to put AA's in the back, you're probably not gonna get 20 hours out of that, but the new ones with the internal battery that does not have a door on the back, 20 hours. And I'm not 100% sure on the charge time, but I can tell you from experience, they do charge fairly quickly. Okay, so the next one I wanted to include on this list is a little bit different, but I really wanted to make sure that I put it on the list because this is a good option for somebody who's looking for not only a controller, but also an extra set of Joy-Cons. And I'm talking about these. Again, I've had these in a few videos and I still don't know what the name is. You can find these on Amazon everywhere. They're under a lot of different names, but I will go ahead and link the ones that I have here in this video. You can get them in a ton of different colors, but they do come with this middle Joy-Con grip. It's kind of like a grip. If you look on the back here, obviously, most of this is the Joy-Con itself. It doesn't need the actual grips because it's got them. So these can be put on the side of the Switch and they are completely wireless, so you can use them as a controller as well. But for this video, we're just gonna keep them on this. We're gonna talk about them as a controller. I have a full review on these as well. If you wanna check these out, I'll link that here. Now, since these are a little bit more of a Joy-Con style controller, they are gonna have the buttons that are directly over top of the sticks on both sides, which for some people is a deal breaker, and I totally understand that. I definitely like the sticks on the bottom moved in a little bit so you can kind of just move your thumb back and forth. Just makes it a little bit easier. But as I said, you're gonna be able to use these as both Joy-Cons and a controller. Another way they're kind of more like Joy-Cons is the buttons feel, they're very clicky, a very short throw. They're a lot like the Joy-Con buttons, honestly. They're very, very similar to the Joy-Con buttons. Everywhere else, everything is fine. They do have a macro and a turbo button on both sides. You're gonna have your home button, your capture button. The D-pad is not bad. It's very clicky. Just like the buttons, it's a lot like everything you're gonna find on the regular Joy-Cons. But obviously the difference here, I don't really have to say it, right? It's pretty obvious. And the great thing about these, I think they're built very well. They do have rumble, they do have the motion control, so you're gonna be able to use these, like I said, pretty much just like Joy-Con. They do not have NFC, but I think they're built pretty well. For $40, I think these are very, very nice. I have 2 pairs of these. I really, really like these. Like I said, I do have a full review on these, and you guys can check that out. You're gonna get a lot more information there, but definitely a good pick if you're looking for something to replace your Joy-Cons and be a good controller at the same time. All right, the last one on the list, but certainly not least, the 8-bit do SN30 Pro Plus. This is pretty much your all-around, do-everything controller, except scan amiibo. Can't do that. But this thing has so many options, they actually had to make a computer program for it. Now, all that is way above anything I would ever do with a controller, but on that program, you can adjust the rumble. You can adjust a lot of stuff with the triggers. You can set up macros. Again, all that is beyond me, but if that's something you're into, this controller has that. And then obviously, looking at this thing, the best way I can describe this is it is a cross between a Super Nintendo controller and a DualShock. It's got the same setup as far as sticks go for the PlayStation controller, and then obviously, you know, it's shaped like a Super Nintendo controller. And the buttons, honestly, I have a Super Nintendo controller here. They feel very, very similar to a Super Nintendo controller. They are a little bit more stiff, and I think they're a little bit bigger. But the real star of this controller is the D-pad. In my opinion, this is the best D-pad on the market right now. It is literally effortless to use this D-pad. With some other D-pads, and even some on this list, I find myself playing, just for example, something like A Link to the Past, and I find myself getting stuck trying to turn and do this and do that, just trying to navigate around in like a top-down Zelda game, or even something like a side-scrolling Mario game, or Donkey Kong, anything like that. If the D-pad is everything to you, I would look no further than this, especially if you want all the other options of a full-size Pro controller. This is it. Now, if the D-pad doesn't mean that much to you, you know, in my opinion, on this list, you're not gonna find a bad one. Now, just like the PowerA, this one's gonna be about 50 bucks. So not only can you get this one that looks like, obviously, a Super Nintendo controller, you can get one that's all black buttons. That one's very cool. Or you can get it with red buttons. It's a little different color, but it's supposed to look like an old school Game Boy. So they do have some color options there. And another very cool thing about this controller, while it does have an internal battery on the back here, you can actually take it out if you want. Let's say this thing dies and you still want to keep playing, but you don't have anywhere to plug this in. If you happen to have 2 AA batteries with you, you can take this battery out, pop the AA's in, and just keep going. So they do give you options. Internal battery, which is great, that does come with it, but if it goes dead and you're in a pinch and happen to have batteries, you can go ahead and toss those in and just keep playing. And as far as build quality, very nice. This controller is solid. For some people, it might not be the one just because of the stick placement. Totally understand that. It's not really my favorite either. I don't know why, but when I'm playing PlayStation, that stick configuration doesn't bother me, but on anything else, I kind of find it weird. I get used to it. It's not that big of a deal, but it is something I wanted to mention. But guys, which one of these controllers do you think is best for you? Leave a comment below. Let me know which one of these you're gonna pick up. As I said earlier, I don't think there's a bad one on the list, but I'm sure there are more out there that you guys like that I have not mentioned in this video. So please, leave those in the comments as well. Maybe there is somebody out there who saw this video and decided none of these are for them. Maybe the one you recommend is for them. But guys, that is all I have for this one. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like. Make sure you are subscribed, and we'll see you in the next one.